Audio Jungle.
Hey, what's up? I'm Jason and welcome to the inaugural Spins Vinyl live stream. You're here, you made it. This is the place to be for about, the next hour or so. We have a great show planned for you. We're going to kick things off with a little talk about the future of vinyl collecting, really a question more than anything. Next, we ask the question, what happens to your record collection when you are long gone? I know, morbid, right? But not really. It's more like something to make you go, but not really that either, because you have to plan for this stuff, right? So we're going to get into that. Also, we're going to play a little game called Agree or Disagree, where we express our opinions about some hot topics in the vinyl community. And we, the collective we, all of us, including you. And then we wrap up with a sweet giveaway. I have a $50 promo code to give away courtesy of Meon Records. So don't go anywhere. We're about to have some fun and we want you to get involved. All right, so I keep saying we, right? It's probably about time that I reveal my guest. He started a vinyl community YouTube channel back in January of 2022. He hosts his own live stream called Surface Noise every other Thursday at 8 p.m. Central on his YouTube channel. He just streamed last night, so next one is 2 weeks. That puts us at about August 17th to catch his next live stream. He just launched the Vinyl Community Podcast, sort of a network of podcasts that includes some of your other favorite YouTubers like Jazz Bums, Soul Disco, and others. He's been collecting vinyl since 2010. He's amassed a collection of more than 3,300 records. Please give a warm welcome, if you will, to today's guest, Chance, the concert buddy himself. What's up, baby?
What's going on? Thanks for having me, bud.
Oh, of course, man. I appreciate you joining me here, man, on the inaugural stream, dude.
Well, listen. I'm hoping years from now, when this is a massive success, that people go back in the archives, the Spins Vinyl archives, and they'll see that I was here on day one. Day one.
Well, there's more to come, man. Hopefully, we'll see how this goes. I'll be honest with you. I'm so frazzled right now trying to figure this all out. I don't even know if anyone's watching us, dude. So, but I hope we're live. I hope people can see us. If they don't see us today, they'll see us at some future date.
That's right.
So tell the viewers a little bit more about the Vinyl Community Podcast, if you would.
I'm happy to. So it's kind of like, remember that old TV show Kung Fu? I'm probably dating myself, where David Carradine was just walking the sands, trying to figure out life and help people out. Well, in year one of the YouTube experience, where I decided to go on the other side of the camera and start making videos, I've been watching YouTube vinyl community stuff for years, since at least 2014, 15, maybe even before that. And when I made the conscious choice to go on the other side of the camera, year one was a lot of learnings, which you're right in it right now.
I know, man. The tip of the iceberg.
But in that, toward the end of year one, I kind of started trying to think of new ideas, things that I didn't really see in the community. And one of them was, I know I like to travel. I have that series on my channel, Record Store Road Trips, and I like to put on podcasts. And there are vinyl specific podcasts. I know Dylan at Noble Records has done one. Matt Kessler, Too Many Records, has done one. There's the Vinyl Guide. There's a lot of them, but the one thing I noticed, there wasn't consistency. There wasn't one once a week. You know what I mean? So to feed my appetite, I thought it would be an interesting idea to at least provide something that wasn't provided to me, if that makes sense, right? Yep. So I dug deep, started researching, figured out all the bells and whistles, but I also wanted to do something that was inspired by the community, from the community, and, for lack of a better word, starred the community. And so I reached out to some other folks that I'm friendly with, Jazz Bums, Nadine, Soul Disco, David Bianco, Safe and Sound Texas, Audio Excursion, Rob, Northern Revolutions, a lot of people, great people. and kind of express this idea. I reached out to some other people and it didn't kind of work out. But the long and the short of it is that's why it's called Vinyl Community Podcast, because it's, while I'm the, for lack of a better word, architect, I'm taking the people's shows and putting them back on the actual audio only feed. Like it's a collective. It truly is. And I think that's what makes us very unique. It's our unique selling proposition, if you will, because it's not just my perspective on collecting records. It's not just David Bianco's or Nadine's, right? It's a very diverse offering, not just in the people, but in the topics. And so a lot of the content comes from our YouTube channels. A lot of it comes from the live streams, like you talked about Surface Noise. If you can't catch Surface Noise when it's live, guess what? It's on the podcast next week. You know what I mean? So it's a lot of content that's consumable in different means. And, my thing was I'd love to listen to some of these personalities and perspectives, but sometimes I can't sit in front of a device and watch it. Right. So I think it's for me, if no one else listened, I would have been happy with the project, because then I could have listened to these great other channels and do their thing. But so far it's been received pretty well as far as analytics. And again, I'm learning all that kind of stuff. We have good, healthy numbers, and I think it's kind of challenged our channels respectively to kind of go find guests for interviews. I know the Jazz Bumps just had Kevin Gray on, you know what I mean? So, Nadine today, I even was talking to her. She had, the guy who was Turbo in Breakin'.
Oh, no way. Really?
Yes. I
That's
saw it. I
awesome,
couldn't
dude.
believe it. I was like, way to go. And so she's like, it can be on the podcast next week. I'm like, oh my gosh. So that's why it's like a really productive, cool, collaborative spirit, and just really, like I said, like diverse stuff. Like obviously, I'm sure some people don't even know who Turbo is, but I do. I remember the dance.
I'll bet you a lot of people do, man, in this community.
Yeah. So anyway, it's just, the main thing is to have fun with it. And it's like I say about the YouTube stuff too. If the minute it's not fun, that's probably time to really evaluate things. Doesn't mean you need to quit or whatever, but talking with other creators, especially in that first year, it seemed to be a common theme of just like, okay, what's next, right? Because everybody can do show
people
and
are
tell.
thirsty. I think people in the vinyl community are looking for something like that, man. And that's what impressed me about it was checking it out and seeing that it was a collective and not just one person. It was like, okay, this is something that the vinyl community could really benefit from. One-stop shop kind of thing. Get 6 or 7 different personalities out there, all kind of rotating in and stuff. Like, I love it. I love that idea.
Awesome. Appreciate you.
Real quick too, I want to give you a chance to talk about a little promo code that you have. I'm going to announce one later, but you have a little promo code too. So let's get that out of the way also.
Oh yeah, sure. No. So, good friends of the show, Vinyl Storage Solutions, who are my go-to for my outer sleeves. They're a wonderful dual pocket sleeve, something I've adapted into my collecting for the last 18 months. And I know a lot of people in the community use them. Nadine, speaking of Nadine, Scott Wilson from the Pressing Matters, Michael 45 audiophile RPM or whatever his channel's called. so there's a lot of folks who use them, and they've been kind enough to, for anyone listening to anything I'm on or involved with, there's a promo code, actually 2 of them. If you want to do VCP10, which means Vinyl Community Podcast 10, or just Concert Buddy, BUDDIE. We're really cute around here. You can save 10% on any purchase, anytime. They also have sales throughout the year, and that's usually when I kind of just get a giant box of sleeves for my needs. But if you're in between, sometimes you run dry. The desert runs you dry. So they've been cool enough to partner as an affiliate. So if you can save 10% on your purchase, go for it. They're the best in the business. The records, the display is nice and clear. And like I said, the dual pocket's kind of my thing. They have sleeves for gatefolds. They're really kind of pushing the envelope of creativity about ways to protect your vinyl. And one thing that doesn't get talked enough about the product is these particular outer sleeves have very like firm edges. So if you juggle a record sleeve and it drops, these corners are really tough, and they'll take, unlike when the UPS or USPS throws your packages and dents and dings those online records that you're buying, these sleeves, they're like foolproof. They're awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I love them. I've actually gotten a package of them once. And I mean, to your point, man, it's like, why not save a little money? It's almost like a necessary evil. I hate to say it that way, but it's like, we all use them, right? You need the inners, you need the outer sleeves, you're buying them anyway. And they are crystal clear. And yeah, I love them.
Awesome.
All right. So why don't we jump into our first topic? Do vinyl records, and I'm trying to make this fancy for you guys. I got to make sure I click on all the right things. Let's see. do vinyl records have a future? And if so, what does it look like? So Chance, your thoughts. Not a big topic. It's kind of like world peace. Chance, your thoughts. No, I do want to hear what,
world peace.
Yeah.
No, do vinyl records have a future? It's funny because I think it's kind of like, and I'm being very light when I say this. It's kind of like a rash. It's really hard to get rid of because if you think about the record companies themselves tried to kill this format because it was not cost effective, right? 30 plus years ago.
We moved on from it already once, right? So it's kind of like,
right, exactly. But yet it just kind of, it was like a cockroach. It just kind of laid in the shadows, and like it had a very small following, and honestly, thanks to folks who were devoted to the format, it's kept it alive, right? It was kind of like it kept that juice flowing. And obviously, a lot of artists in the 90s and 2000s, early 2000s, were kind of doing it as a niche thing. There were still some pressing plants, but it was pretty much on life support, right? So I would never bet against the format since that's already happened once. But I also think that, obviously, I'm a fan of the format. I think it really speaks to intentional listening, which I think it's not a convenient thing. There's no doubt about it. It's not convenient to listen to a whole bunch of music at once through vinyl, but sound quality, intentional listening, like actually in our very, very ADHD world that we kind of live in with social media and distractions in our pocket, literally. I think vinyl does something that few things do outside of maybe sports, like you're watching sports on TV. It forces you to really engage with what you're doing, be purposeful and intentional. And I don't think that that's something that would go away easily. So I think the future is strong. I think obviously a lot of younger people coming into the hobby is going to sustain it.
Yep.
Long after I'm gone, you're gone, whoever's gone, some of the people older than us. So I think there's a lot. Now there are some road bumps, and we can definitely get into that. But like anything else, I think that if people are smart about it and loyal to it and passionate enough about it, I think that it can persevere.
I love a couple of things you said. Like one is like carrying the awareness through like, dark times. And I kind of think of whatever people think about it. I like Michael Fremer. He's someone that brought me back in a way and kind of educated me on a lot of things that I wasn't even aware of, my whole first part of my, record collecting lifetime until say like 5 years ago, where I discovered him, and he's been carrying the torch forever, right? Ever since CDs started. And so people like him that, and YouTube, I think is a big thing, right? Like people are learning more about vinyl than ever. People that I had, even me listening to records for 30 years, I had no idea what a matrix number was or what dead wax was or any of that stuff. And so now there's just so much more information out there. And also to your point about, kind of a simpler world, in a digital world, I think there's a lot of people that are kind of thirsty for something analog, whatever that is, whether I think people are eager to people want to still play their old video games as opposed to like just downloading stuff. People want to have something physical that they can put on there and kind of get away from all the ones and zeros for a while. And I think that is attracting a lot of people. The only thing, and to your point, I know we can get into this, is some of the speed bumps or road bumps that I kind of see, which are things like, well, first, I'm going to wrap up with something that kind of proves against this point. But at first I was thinking when I came into this, maybe there's not enough promotion going into young people. Like maybe young people, how are they going to know about records? Why should they care about records when, like you said, they've got the convenience of a cell phone? Who needs to buy records? And also, I don't know if you get this too, but there's been a lot of people in the community that reached out to me when I started this, saying like, hey man, I really wanted to get into vinyl, or I was into vinyl, but I buy a record and then it's quality control issues. I return it. They do that 4 times until they're just fed up. It's like, why am I going to keep putting myself through this torture? When I can just pick up my phone and 2 seconds later, I'm listening to something. I can take it in my car. I can go for a run. Mm-hmm. And then also just to wrap up on your point is that with the intentional listening thing, I think that's so cool. And it is almost, I don't want to say it's exclusive to vinyl, but it is really important about it. It's such a ritual. And there's so many things to listen for. And even if some of those things are faults with vinyl, it's just, you're just way more intentional about listening. You're going to sit down. If you have to go through all the trouble to listen to one side and then flip it over, you're going to pay attention more. And so while it's not convenient, you can't listen in the car or while you're on your run. There's just something about coming home, dropping a, Led Zeppelin down and just sitting in a chair with whatever, drink you like, and just being able to chill out and just you hear so much more that way.
Agree. I think, and also, I think you would agree on this one, Jason, in that we're at such a busy time. Like we continue to try to push the limits of productivity in our professional lives and our personal lives. And I think vinyl requires you to literally stop and focus on, like you said, the ritual, right? The ritual, the opening of from the jacket, the actual artwork, right? Like, because, when CDs came to prominence and really kind of replaced vinyl as the dominant consumption format, it was, those jewel cases, the artwork was like this little booklet, the art was really such an integral part of the whole presentation of the project, right?
Yep.
Back in the end, it still is. But I remember as a kid in my mom's record collection, the Queen record with, We Will Rock You, and it had like the robot on it, right? And like it just blew my mind because he literally had blood on his fingers, like, so those kind of things that like stick with you, right? The things that are real memorable. And I think that, like you said, like the callbacks to our past, but then also the future, right? Like talking about people like to play retro games, or they collect certain things that maybe they couldn't get back in their youth that now they have the financial means to assemble, right?
Yep.
So I think it's like a poo-poo platter of like all those different variables. But I think in the end, it's all about the music. Like Mazzy says, it's the music, stupid, right? Mm-hmm. But I think that what vinyl offers that a lot of these other consumption formats do not is that it literally allows you to stop and just focus on that one thing. Now you can obviously put a record on and clean your house, or you can multitask, but the actual ritual, again, borrow your words, a great word there, requires you to actually devote some energy to set up, listening, and plus, you want to make sure your speakers are set up. It's a lot different than just throwing on earbuds. So again, it's not for the convenient, but it's for, it's just an extension of really digging into the music.
Yep. I want to thank everybody that's watching right now and leaving comments. Rod, I see you out there. I see you guys out there, man. Harry's out there. Thank you so much for joining. I'm sorry, this would be in our first stream. Like, I'm so nerve-wracked. I know I'm not responding immediately, but I do want to respond to some things you guys are saying. So Rod's saying albums of the late 80s were so cheaply and flimsy made. Grooves were not deep. They sounded like crap. They wanted us to buy CDs. It's like, I know, man. It's so true. We all probably, maybe even Chance remembers. I don't know. I don't know how old you are, so I don't know if you were there at the inception of CDs, but like a lot of us had a full record collection, and then CDs came along and dangled, this carrot in our face. It's convenient. You can program the tracks and all this. You can, you don't have to get up halfway
disc changers. Through. Yeah.
First thing I did was buy a big old stereo with a 5-disc changer. I sold all my records, and I could listen to every Depeche Mode album on repeat. You know what I mean? So, and then bring it in your car, throw it in the Walkman, all that stuff. And yeah, at the time, I didn't really think much of it, man. It was just about convenience. But then, whatever. We all got wise at some point. like you said, you want to be more intentional about it. You start comparing the two and you're like, wait a minute. And especially like the artwork and stuff, I got to be honest, man. And certain bands that do such a great job of it. I think every single Frank Zappa album, I just happen to be a huge Frank Zappa fan. Okay. Beautiful artwork on all of his records and stuff. And yeah, there's just something super cool about that. There's no indication. I'm sorry. I'm also having a hard time reading, guys. You can understand I wear sunglasses. So there's no indication vinyl's going away anytime soon, but the same could have been said in the 70s. The difference now is that vinyl isn't the most convenient medium as it was in the 70s. There's too many more options now, right? It's like it's not even CDs. In fact, just a side note, I always think it's kind of interesting that we make the argument that, well, more vinyl records are selling now than CDs. I don't even see CD as a competitor. I see it more like being like streaming music, really. But yeah, you're right, man. It is. It's,
Well, here's a question along those lines. If someone said, hey, you should get this artist and it's only on CD. I mean, where would you even go? You couldn't go to I mean, maybe your local record store might carry a selection of CDs in the back, but it's only going to be your top selling Taylor Swifts
Yep.
and One Direction. You know what I mean? So it's not going to be these. And you have to go you have to go right to the artist page, Bandcamp. I mean, it's very niche. It's almost like vinyl and CDs have kind of switched pole positions in the sense that
Yep.
you go to the record store, it's 85, 90% vinyl, and then some cassettes. That's another one. Cassettes are coming back. Like, I think everyone tries to really capture like the next lightning in a bottle kind of situation. Because another thing that was great about collecting records and kind of got me involved was that you could go to your thrift stores, you could go to a lot of yard sales, and collection building early on was just easy and it was inexpensive. You could get so much for so little, and it was a way to again re-engage with that collect, because again the CDs were very impersonal in the sense that they're all under the same type of jewel case. Again, the artwork is very, couple pages of a booklet. Maybe sometimes when it was a double CD, you'd have like the transformer top to the CD and that could break. The jewel case was very breakable, so it wasn't something that was
I hate to interrupt you, but let me ask you this, because you made a good point, is that is CDs kind of the vinyl for that generation now? Like people that growing up in the 90s and the 2000s, they get that nostalgia for CDs. And I see a lot of like channels where people, and by the way, I want to say totally respect whatever format you listen to.
Sure.
It's all good, baby. I mean, there's a lot of people that, they come in and like, hate to say it, but I buy CDs, and I'm like, hey, however you consume your music, whatever brings you joy, like do it. I'm all for it, but we're kind of getting now to that point where nostalgia for, CDs is even a thing. And now people are picking up for like pennies on the dollar and stuff like that. So I just wonder, at some point, is CDs going to kind of, as a collectible or as a nostalgic kind of thing to listen to music on, is it going to start competing in that sense as a collectible?
Well, I think to that point though, I don't, it's hard for me to envision that it would ever, be like horse trading. I don't know if CDs will ever usurp where vinyl is now, but I do think that there are certain elements involved that could make that happen. And one is being cost prohibitive, right? Like the price of vinyl continues to just kind of itch an inch higher. New vinyl, obviously it's inflation and it's manufacturing. There's all those kind of things. But even used vinyl, which is usually the bread and butter for the independent record stores, because that's their highest margin return, right? Because new records, a lot of these shops are lucky to make $5 profit on a brand new record. But used, they've got, especially if it's a hard to find record or something that's triple digits or whatever they can put on their wall of a wow. But even the price of used now, and I think I don't think it's turning off collectors, but I think that and I've heard this from several folks in the community, it's making them throttle their purchases because maybe, again, everyone's got their own financial budgets and financial responsibilities, but some of that discretionary income, when it doesn't spend as long as it used to, maybe people aren't so inclined to go and buy that audiophile pressing that's $125 brand new when they can get an original, an OG, for half the price if they put a little work into it, or you know what I mean? So I think that's one thing. You talk about the future of vinyl work. I think the price component is kind of the black herring that's kind of in front of us, and that I hope is a 4-letter word now. I hope that the labels are very cognizant of that, because I'm seeing some of the similar patterns having grown up in the CD. Because you remember when CDs came out, they came in those long boxes, right?
Yeah.
It's like a bag of potato chips. There was all that dead air, but it was perceived value. Here's a CD that costs maybe 25 cents to make the CD. Then the jewel case and artwork, let's call it another 75 cents. So they're in for $1. But early CDs, if you remember, like $20 right out the gate, and they had those, you know what I mean. So I see that the labels and the manufacturers are really trying to push. Even look at like the big announcement today, the UHQR Acoustic Sounds John Coltrane Love Supreme. Now they got me on it because I've got the series. I'm a completionist, but there's not a lot of people are.
Are those limited? Are those limited edition?
I think I didn't look at the number. I want to say 10,000, but that price, when Chad started that series, I think they were like $100 when the first two Hendrix came out. Yep. And it went to $125. Now we're at $150. So all in with shipping, it's not easy to drop $170 on a record that, in fairness, is widely available. I hope this thing knocks my socks off. But I hope it does. But
well, so
I'm also,
that brings up a good point too, is that, and this has kind of got me thinking about demographics in terms of like, are young people into this? Like, what is the demographic? Who is the customer for those records? I would guess it's going to be mostly people that are already, a person just getting into the hobby is not going to buy one of those, right? Or
right.
maybe even a young person's not going to buy one of those. And so my thought was kind of like, what is the future of, say, like a Blue Note, for example, who is really their customer is going to be people that love jazz and older people. I love Blue Note. I love the Tone Poets. They're some of the best sounding records in my collection. I don't have any UHQR, so, but it's like, I just wonder, like, what happens in 10 years when like all those Tone Poets, people that were buying those Tone Poets, you know what I mean? Like they've moved on, and it's sort of like, are young people going to come up and start spending 50, 60, $100 on jazz records? I just, I don't know. That's sort of like where I'm at with some of it. The other thing that's great though is that I looked at a website today as I was doing a little bit of research, and it has the charts and everything of like demographics and what age groups are buying the most vinyl. And historically, it's been like 55 plus is right there at the top, like 30%. Mm-hmm. And for the first time in 2021, the 25 to 34-year-old demographic is right there with it. And I thought that's really promising. And I think a lot of that goes to the labels really putting out, the Taylor Swifts and the, whatever, all the stuff that I don't really listen to, but the stuff for the younger generation, they're doing a good job of getting this stuff on vinyl. And then with like Record Store Day and stuff like that now, and I think it's great for the community. I know some people are kind of like, what's up with the Taylor Swift records or whatever. Well, I mean, look, if there's going to be a future, like that's the future. It's going to be those listeners. And a lot of those records are now selling as much as like rock, and jazz and stuff like that. So,
yeah, to me, again, kind of your original question about what the future, I think it's the worst time to be a record collector. And you're like, okay, that's an oxymoron. Like, what does that mean? Well, it means a couple things. One, like we're talking about, the price is kind of like, okay, it keeps getting up and up, and it's kind of become a little like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, grandpa hitting his head on the top of the ceiling. Like, when is enough from a price elasticity perspective? But to your point, it's never been better, because there's just, if the vinyl resurgence, quote unquote, wasn't so prevalent, there wouldn't be Universal investing so much in doing the Tone Poet series and getting these tapes from the vaults, and getting Kevin Gray and Bernie and Ryan Case, the real artisans of the mastering world, to really put their hands on this. Kevin Gray has talked about working on certain Miles Davis's titles 4 times over his career. You know what I mean?
Kevin Gray and those other engineers have to be loving life. They're like stars now. Like, I mean, I didn't know what an engineer was, 10 years ago. Yeah. Now all of a sudden these guys, you see their name, Bernie Grundman. It's like, boom, I'm buying this record. They're literally like superstars, celebrities now.
And that's a marketing trick too, because if you look at those hype stickers, mastered by Kevin Gray, you hear the same buzzwords, right? All analog, mastered from the original. You have to be very cognizant of what one means versus another. But AAA, Kevin Gray, it's all the recipe of what is a call to action to be like, oh, I'm kind of on the fence about that. Whoa, Kevin Gray, come to Papa. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. All right. Well, sweet, man. Yeah, I mean, just going back to with this, hopefully a nice segue into our next topic is that, talking about the 55 plus crowd continuing to kind of like, edge out the rest of the, demographic in terms of being record collectors. And you have to think what's going to happen to all those records, as that demographic kind of diminishes. It happens to the best of us, right? All from natural causes, I hope. And we are going to talk about that next, but I got to jump in here with a quick sponsor, guys, and also an offer for you guys. So I do want to thank Meon Records, my favorite record store on the planet, for sponsoring today's live stream. Meon has a massive inventory of amazing vinyl. Their shipping is lightning fast. Their packaging is second to none. They just take every single measure and precaution to ensure that you receive your records swiftly and in the condition promised. And for a limited time, you're going to save 10% by entering promo code SPINZ, SPINZ, in the promo box at checkout. So go treat yourself to that sweet, sweet record that you've had your heart set on. Just go to Meon.Tokyo, Meon.Tokyo, and don't forget you got that 10% in your back pocket. All right, so...
Hey, Minion's not working here, Spins Vinyl.
Yeah, don't try Minion. That's a whole nother thing, man. So another topic, I'll just be very direct about it here. Let me fix my little thing again. Boom. What happens to your records when you pass on? So Chance, do you have a plan for what happens to your collection when you go? Not that you have to worry for a very long time, but what happens to the collection when the Grim Reaper comes a knocking?
Well, like you said, hopefully it's not for a long time, but it's like with anything that we possess, our possessions, like what happens to them. Hopefully we have a plan. My plan is, my wife knows this. I would like, obviously, my family to get first dibs of any kind of pieces that have sentimental attachment, financial return, whatever the motivations are. So obviously my family would be able to pick at the crumbs of my wares. But after that, if it's something that I still have friends who have record stores, which I do right now, I'd love for them to be able to like maximize that collection as a means to, because I know they treat my family fairly about buying the collection, and also it could be a great return. And I do think that, I don't know if I'm the only one that thinks this way, but I do think that we do have to, like, we only possess these when we're here on Earth, right? Or
exactly.
In another world, or when the aliens drop us off, whatever people think. But at some point you do have to put them back into the ecosphere. Like, there was a guy that had all the original, like those old 78s, like Joe, I forget his name, but he had this literally like a one-of-one collection. He'd been collecting since the 50s. He used to drive the back roads in the South and pick up those shellac records, and he passed away. And I still haven't even heard what exactly is going on. I know his daughter was taking offers. This is like $1 million, $3 million collection, right? Jack White's even, I think, involved in maybe procuring it, but
okay.
Doesn't sound like even like that guy knew he would eventually, leave the premises. But it doesn't sound like there was a succession plan for that either, because obviously I haven't heard anything about it. So, long-winded way of saying I have very loosely communicated my desires to what happens in my collection. But, again, hopefully it's not for a while. And hopefully I live long enough that I can actually have the control of, okay, I've had a lot of fun with these. I'm going to really tighten my collection. And when I go into that retirement home, whenever that is, or if I even do, I'm only going to have a couple of cubicles, and it's just going to be whatever it is at that point. So what about you? Have you thought long and hard about this?
Yeah, I think you said a mouthful, and
always.
And I got to tell Rod, I love you. I do. It's just I've seen other videos in other communities where people would say, and it's one thing, like if your kids are into it, if you have someone to pass them on to that are going to love them as much as you did and that kind of stuff, I think it's great. I have a personal experience with my dad passing a few years ago, and it's not records, but books. He was really into books. And left me with hundreds of these things. And they're still sitting in my garage for 3 years, and stuff, and trying to figure out what to do with them. And I've taken some to the bookstore, but it's loading up the car and getting pennies for the dollar on them, or some of the more valuable ones, putting them on eBay. In a way, I see it as a little bit of a burden.
Sure.
And I'm like, so it's kind of giving me that perspective on it. And again, Rod, I love you. Trust me. It's not, everyone each their own, and whatever they choose to do is their right, obviously. I would be afraid, to leave it for my kids who have no interest in the stuff. They don't. My girlfriend doesn't. No one I know. I don't have anyone to leave the stuff to, And so for me, it's kind of like, I'm as like you. I'm hoping I live a nice long life, and I'll know when I'm about to like go, and I'll be able to jump in and take care of it, and then take that money and leave them with something that they can actually appreciate. You know, even if it's only a few $1,000s or whatever, you know, I just feel like having dealt with my dad's stuff, it's kind of like, man, this is what I got left with, a bunch of dusty books, you know, as opposed to like handle the business in advance, you know, and just hand your kids some cash or whatever. And it might seem extreme. And I know, look, our greatest fear is probably being without records, right? You know, going into our golden years that way. But it's like you said, I think pick out the ones you can't live without, the stuff you're going to listen to, and then just take care of the other stuff in advance. And that's just how I feel about it. Again, no offense to anyone, everyone do what you got to do. But I just think, you know, it's an interesting topic, right? Because I think it's really easy to just be like, well, you know, I'm going to enjoy them until I'm gone. And then wherever they go after that, they go. But someone's got to deal with it. You know what I mean? If they love it, it's one thing, but you know, it could be potentially a burden.
You raise an interesting thing to talk about there in terms of like the book market. I didn't know this until I was trying, you know, I'm always interested in learning more about the psyche of collecting as a whole. Right. And, you know, I've seen the studies that, you know, obviously anything that's a callback and has a, like, you know, because we put a lot of emotional value in objects. Right. And what's interesting is that there's a whole subculture of these book collectors. And there was a documentary about it a couple of years ago that I watched. And obviously like high end first edition, Gutenberg, you know, all those, there's all just like in record collecting, there's all the little like, and I had no idea because, you know, like I'm sure I would have thought a first pressing of Little Women is probably collectible, right? But the lengths that some of these, you know, there's book fairs, there's you know, there's underground book trading. Like, had no idea, but it's really interesting to me to see how it's not exclusive to record collecting. And to your point, would somebody who didn't have that passion for whatever it is, books, records, Pokemon cards, whatever, if they don't have that passion, it's a good and bad thing. It's good because they can sell it all at once and not have any kind of you know, regret if they didn't get a top dollar or if they didn't get the return they were wanting. But it's also bad because, you know, you, me, whoever have spent a lifetime amassing these things for various reasons, right? And that's why I always try to level set and think, well, yes, the collection is great, but the journey is like, I've had so many adventures and you know, like, I don't know about you, but like when I travel, going to these record stores is part of the curriculum. It's part of the, it takes me to different parts of town that I probably wouldn't go otherwise. And it opens me up to different experiences and different restaurants. And, you know, it's always been a real thing of joy and positivity in that sense. Obviously I've went to some record stores that were turds. I'm just going to be honest, but, but at least the hunt has kept me like the North Star of like, well, there's another record store that let me just pop in. Sometimes you find that very innocuous stores have some of the best honey holes possible. So anyway, I know I kind of diverged off that, but yeah, the book collecting thing I had no idea about, and I was like, oh, I'm seeing a lot of parallels between.
Yeah, I mean, it could be anything. Like, you know, the first time I saw this topic and what kind of made me think about it was a video game collector, a guy that has like thousands of collectible games, just like we do with records. They're all in plastic and everything. I mean, I'm sure he has probably tens of thousands of dollars. And his response was like kind of, well, I'm just going to let whatever happens kind of a thing. And I felt moved to like comment on the video. I'm like, bro, what are you doing? I know you're a young person now, but it's like at some point, you know, this is going to come to a head and stuff, you know? So anyway, yeah. And that's like the biggest bummer is that if you just, the next generation, like you said, you don't know what a first edition, like Frankenstein versus some reprint issue or something or whatever. Same thing with records, right? Like your family's not going to know that stuff in the same way that you do, or even close, or even be savvy enough to like navigate YouTube and Discogs and a record store and all that stuff. So, and I think leaving instructions isn't a great idea either. Like, okay, I put Post-it notes on all the good records, you know, or whatever. It's just, you know, I don't know.
Take me upon death. Do not leave our family. Yeah.
Here's the password to the spreadsheet. All right. That's right. Yeah. But I love what you said, Rod, and thanks, man. I love the family wants the Grateful Dead and the other stuff, and you got someone to take care of that. So that's fantastic, man. We should all be so lucky. And thank you. That's, you know, flattery will get you everywhere on this show, by the way. So thank you so much, man. Um, all right. What else? Let me go down my little list here. Yeah. So, I mean, I know it's a little bit of a morbid thought, but yeah, I mean, it's all something we all have to think about, right? Every one of us, like what's going to happen to this stuff when it's gone.
Well,
And
especially living in the moment or day by day, obviously nothing is promised, right? But I
exactly.
think that if I'm on Discogs and I'm looking and I'm complaining about all the scammers and all the problems that Discogs has, which we can talk about another time, but
Mm,
I'm not thinking about, well, if I buy this $300 record and blow my budget for the month, if I get hit by a truck while it's in transit, what happens? Never crosses my mind. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
literally, it's in the hands of the mail carrier when that kangaroo jumps on me on my Australian vacation. Right? Never crosses my mind, but
Yeah.
anything's possible.
It's true. Yeah, it's easy to just keep on going and assume it's going to keep going that way. I think now that we're talking about it, I'm thinking about the hundreds of loose ends I have. Like, oh man, what about my bank accounts? And I better start. It's never too soon to start planning all that stuff.
Estate planning is coming up for you.
Exactly. All right. So let's jump into something fun. I do want to play a little game here, and I would love people to chime in. So whoever's on, please feel free to give us your thoughts on these. So we're going to do a little game called Agree or Disagree. And basically, I just got some topics just to have some fun. And sorry, I'm trying to work my computer. There we go. Okay. And so, yeah, I just have rapid fire. I don't have a bunch of them. So we can get we can get into these a little bit. There's like 4 different ones. But so, yeah, let's just jump right in. So, and I'm basically going to state it as a fact. You agree or disagree. So, and it might be nuanced. But
Right.
Analog sounds better than digital. Agree or disagree?
Agree.
Okay. In 100% of cases?
No, not 100%. That's
Okay.
if I'm making a very blanket. If I have a
Right.
choice,
I gotcha.
I would go down the path of analog first. Now, 100% of the time, no, because obviously MoFi Gate. I don't want to trigger anybody watching this now or later, but Mobile Fidelity has done some incredible work doing their transfer to DSD and all that stuff. Some things not so good, but I mean, you could say that about some. Again, it all goes back to the mastering. But if I have to choose, my default is analog.
Yep.
What
Yeah.
about you?
Yeah. I mean, I agree with that. I think there's more reasons to, as I kind of alluded to before, there's more reasons to like analog than just sound. And I do say analog sounds better. I think, the tactile piece of it and all that, trying to do away with the ones and zeros and everything. But in terms of just sound, it's like there's bad analog and there's good digital. And so it's like, it is kind of, a case by case basis. I think overall, yes, I like the idea of analog, but I've sort of softened a little bit just as I started to learn more about like all the records that have digital somewhere in the chain that maybe you didn't know about. You could use MoFi as an example, but even going back to the 70s, that's when they started using digital processing at some point, whether they'd process it and save it as a digital file and then create the record from that, or in somewhere along the way, they realized, whoa, this is convenient. I've heard, now I'm not going to be able to think of his name. The guy that engineered the Beastie Boys' first album, and
Rick Rubin.
Rick Rubin talks about it. He says, look, he goes, the thing about analog is it starts deteriorating immediately. And so with digital, you don't have that issue. And if you can save a high enough resolution file, you'll just have it forever. And you can make as many pressings from it you want to. And so I know, and that's kind of, those kinds of things have kind of softened me a little just because I realize, is it practical? If you would just want it all analog, well, then you got to go back to like pre-70s, right? And that has to be your collection. And so it's kind of like, if you like newer stuff, then, it's likely that you're going to have some digital there. And so it's kind of like how... This is a stupid analogy, but I can't think of a good one. How far are you going to ride this horse or whatever? Whatever the saying is, like,
Gotta die on that hill, right?
Yeah, right. It's like, is it analog or nothing? Or is there like some cases where you're okay with it? So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts. I mean, to your point, yeah, as just a yes or no, yes, I think analog, but it's just so nuanced and not in every situation. I think in some situation, digital can sound better. I mean, just depends on, a lot of times it depends on what condition the master tapes are in and how was the album originally mastered, et cetera, et cetera. We could go on forever about this, but
Sure.
yeah.
Well, and the other thing I'll say too, talking about the future, right? 30 years from now, I'm sorry, Kind of Blue, the tapes will not be relevant because they'll probably have turned to ash. You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
those kind of things, because you already hear about the fragmented tapes and people are Frankensteining an original and filling in gaps with the first copy tape and all that stuff. So 30 years from now, like digital is the way. And to your point, like the Rick Rubin thing, like the hope is that any Mobile Fidelity is part of this in their own way. The hope is getting the top excavation from these tapes, so then you can have this for generations going forward. Because if you don't, then it's gonna be tough.
Yep. So you bring up a great point too, Harry. I hope that is your name, Harry. I'm assuming it is. Not being able to tell the difference. I mean, look, that's the other thing too, is that I think the majority of the demographic, I think I even saw you talking about, or someone was talking about this on your stream, Chance, is that, or somewhere I heard it recently, and it's true.
I'll take credit for it. It's okay.
Yeah, you could totally give you credit for this, is that I think you invented this whole topic of our ears are not the same when we're 50 as they are when they're 20. It's just a scientific fact. Like you lose certain frequencies. Usually the high frequencies go first. And so and it's funny, like if you ever use one of those like testers, they have apps that will test like what frequency range you can hear. And I'm sitting here like, I don't hear anything. And my kids are like, you don't hear that? You don't hear that? So it's a fact. I mean, it's just one of those things where, our ears, maybe a very young person can detect some of this stuff, but I think the average person, unless it's a very poor digital job, right? I mean, early CDs, low bit rates. Yes, you're going to pick up on that stuff, but a well done digital mastering job is going to be very difficult to detect, I think, for most people.
Agreed. Yeah.
Let me just get to some of these other comments. Yes, so I still need to invest in a system to prove that. Sorry, I must have missed something.
Just talking about the difference, I think Jason's talking about the difference between vinyl and CD and picking up those subtle, like to really maximize the return on the investment of the medium, right?
Yep, gotcha. Yep, that makes sense. If you want to elaborate more, but yeah, that totally makes sense. Sorry, I know I'm doing a lot of bouncing around here.
Very good, man. Very good.
That's where the name comes from. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, makes sense. It's obvious. I hate to assume, but yeah, it's I'm glad you chose that. All right. So analog sounds better than digital. We got it. All right. So next, and we kind of talked. This is going to sound redundant already, but because we got pretty deep into that other topic. But vinyl is here to stay. Agree or disagree? And I think you can extrapolate this into how far in the future you want to. I mean, but anyway, agree or disagree? Vinyl is here to stay.
I'll say agree. At least for the rest of my lifetime in some capacity. Now, not to go geopolitical or anything like that, but man, it's been a hot summer. And if we keep getting some more hot summers, it don't matter they're going to have to put air conditioners on these trucks, because the records that are sitting in some of these delivery trucks all day, the warping, I don't know if you've heard this from other channels or folks in the community, but warping is very rampant. And I think it's obviously a lot of different things, but I think the one that's being underreported is that the heat, and not just the heat in the streets and the heat in the sheets, but it's the heat in these trucks, because they're cooking these records. I mean, and we were talking about this last night on Surface Noise, that it's not just the delivery trucks, but if you think about any warehouse, they only have so many dock doors, right? Like, I'll make up a number, they'll get 8 dock doors. They get a lot of containers of product in at once. They can only process so many a day. And some of those containers, which are little ovens in their own right, are sitting in the parking lot, and especially right now, cooking our records, cooking them, and it's not the good kind.
Oh, there's nothing like
you want a
getting your
record to cook when it sounds good. You don't want it to cook in the parking lot of the warehouse, right?
nothing better than picking up your record or having it land on the porch, or you go take whatever, you go take it out of the mailbox or whatever, and it feels like it's 200 degrees. That's like just the most depressing. It's like, oh man.
Yeah, that does not end well. That's right.
That does not end well ever. Yeah, I mean, I did a video on, and not just a heat thing, but I did a video on like called Nightmare Pressings, right? Where I talk about, and
Sure.
the thing that kind of moved me to even want to address that was an album that came out. Of course, I'm going to space on it now. An album that recently was reissued that people have been waiting for a long time. There was only an original issue of it, and so it was issued. I wanted it terribly bad. I got it on Amazon. I got it home. I listened to it. It sounded phenomenal. So I did a review on it. Why can't I remember what it is? Maybe it'll come to me as I'm talking. Ahmad Jamal, right? Ahmad Jamal.
Oh, okay. I was thinking Katy Perry, Teenage
The Awakening.
Dream, but okay.
Yeah, The Awakening, Ahmad Jamal. So I had a very positive review about it, and I got it the day it came out. So there wasn't a lot of Discogs reviews or anything. Well, people are responding in the comment section like, bro, this record sounds trash. And I was like, wait, what? So I had to listen to it again just to make sure I wasn't crazy. I'm like, mine sounds really good. So I went to Discogs, and it's like night and day. One person's like, this is phenomenal. Another person's like, this is trash. I had to return it, and all this stuff. And so then I made the Nightmare Pressings video, which is like, notwithstanding heat and different stuff, is just the whole snowflake concept, which I'm trying to coin, which is like a snowflake is what? It's like no two are the same. Sure. And so a pressing of vinyl records, you might get a wide variety of quality in the same pressing, and it makes it extremely frustrating. I don't even know if I'm on the same topic that we started with this, but I mean, vinyl's here to stay. So, I mean, I think a lot of these people, and that pressing specifically, people were very frustrated about, because we've waited so long, and it finally comes out, and a lot of people got bad pressings of it. And it's just so discouraging. And when you're saying is vinyl here to stay, one of the hiccups that I think that some of these, the labels are going to have to figure out is who's pressing your records for you. What is in fact, I sent an email to the pressing plant about it.
Oh, come on. You pulled a Karen? You pulled a Ken on us? You're right. You're right.
Did I? No, I was just asking that.
No,
I was
would
like,
do the same thing. I'm just giving you trouble. I would 2,000%.
I just wanted to know, like, I wanted to see if I could get any information out of it. Of course, they played it very straight. It's like, well, this is our quality control process in 4 different steps, and we do it here, we do it here, we do it here. And all of our quality meets the, expectations of our customers, the customer being the label, right? And I was like, yeah, well, the ball's getting dropped because it's so inconsistent. I don't know how you fix that, because I don't know. It's like the label pays the pressing plant, and they're done. Pressing plant makes the records, ships them out. Amazon buys their share, and stuff like that. It's like they're done. Like, so in what part of the chain can you either add a link and say, it's not like, you can't listen to every record. You can't, the customer, i.e. the vendor, the label can't listen to every record and make sure that they're all coming out. In fact, as I'm talking, the one thing that, and I will say that oftentimes when I get a record that says Virgin Vinyl, oftentimes it actually sounds really good. You're laughing, but it's like, that most vinyl is like, resourced, right? It's, what do you call it? Recycled.
Recycled, yeah.
I just think that has a lot to do with
100%.
inconsistent pressings.
And that started back in, let's call it the late 70s, early 80s with the oil embargo, right? Remember, gasoline was like crazy prices, and that's when they started recycling vinyl, and that's when there was a noticeable degradation of the sound quality. I mean, remember flexi discs? Like, even if you collect them now, and I mean, those things literally, you just shake them. You're trying to air dry them from washing them, and then wah, 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 right? Like, yeah, I laugh. I wasn't, the Virgin thing made me laugh because it's true, because I think that's something that's very underreported, is that is another thing that could be used as a marketing tool, but also it does sound best when it's first production, right? Like when it's not recycled, when it's not even
it's
just
one of the big deals
vinyl,
about Japanese vinyl.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm going to get this wrong, but it might have been Mobile Fidelity was actually getting all their vinyl from like overseas because they knew that it was superior vinyl, and then they would press their records there and then get them back. Hi, Marcia. I hope I got that wrong. I'm trying to read
awesome.
your name in like with sunglasses on again. Everything, you know. It's so worth it though. Let's see. Let me catch up a little bit here.
Good.
Like to optimistically say yes, but I think there's no way we can confidently predict the future. Yeah.
I guess I should reveal myself. I'm a time traveler, and I've seen the future, and there are still records in it.
All right.
The rest of the world's in flames. You know, it got so hot that we burned up everything. All the oceans burned up, but I've still got my Lenny Kravitz greatest hits. I can tell
We're not using vinyl as food by that point or anything. It's like, okay.
I certainly hope not.
I purchased so many new LPs that have arrived warped in some form. That's a great point. Pretty much something I expect now. Yeah, it's irritating to have to expect that, right? I mean, I've been very lucky, but I have gotten, just like anyone else, like I've gotten, you know, a dud and stuff like that. And it's just a real pain, especially depending on how you bought it. Like if you, to your point, Chance, let's say you travel and you go buy, how confident are you going to be buying a new sealed record, go back home and play it, and now there's no way to return it. You're just stuck with that, right?
No, dude, yeah.
You're much better off buying on Amazon. I hate to say it, or something like that, so that you got a good, you know, a return policy.
I honestly, I mean, to that point, when I travel, I stick to 95% used, just because proven commodity. I can look at it, I can study it, I can already know how it's at least visually, you know, going to be. New records, I hate to say it, you can source them a lot of different places, unless it's like some dead stock that, you know, you won't find anywhere else, or if it's like some record store day stuff that X store didn't sell versus your locals. But few and far between. Yeah, you got to be strategic about it.
Yep, for sure. That was good, man.
Oh yeah.
Talking about United Pressing Plant. I wasn't talking about United Pressing
Plant. Nashville.
Yeah, I was talking
about hardworking people down there. Well, you know, actually, I do want to touch on something you said earlier, Jason. That you know, talking about maybe there's one more or a different, something different in the QC chain, and without, you know, like in my professional life, I have a very decent understanding of manufacturing principles, right? And I think that part of the COVID situation, I think a lot of the plants and the capacities were, you know, again, we don't have to rehash why record collecting really just hit the kerosene in COVID, but a lot of plants trying to scale production quickly,
That's a great point.
They probably lessen their QC standards because, you know, a factory looks at things as widgets, right? You know, how many we need to get out 5,000 units today.
And they're just people too.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
It's like they're people disgruntled with their jobs, probably underpaid. You know, it's like you're only as good as the people that are spot checking that stuff.
For sure. Yeah. And if they're tasked with, you've got to make 5,000 of these today, and if they know they're coming up on, you know, if they know the only way to do that is, but also I guarantee it. I don't have inside information, but I George Foreman guarantee that the plants and labels have lessened that tolerance, that threshold, because usually your fallout is you want to aim for like 5% waste, right? I guarantee they've scaled it to 10% because think of it from there. If they're hitting their quota and they're meeting capacities and they're selling more units overall, if their return rate is higher, they're willing to eat that one in exchange for selling 100 more units. For, again, I'm making the numbers up, but for having 10 errant records when you could sell 100 more through this degraded process, I get why they do it,
just
but
like
it doesn't make it any more of a pain point for the end consumer. So,
and a lot of people too, they just bank on the fact that not everyone is going to return those records, right? They're just going to live with it. Maybe they don't notice. Maybe some people don't even notice, right? They just buy it and think, oh, I'm just listening, you know, whatever. They're just more casual. And yeah.
Well, and that speaks to the, like we were talking about earlier, the vinyl community. Information sharing has never been higher or more convenient, right? Because I would have a record, and if I had a little wobble, it'd be like, okay, whatever. But if I can go on YouTube or in the Hoffman forums or wherever and see it's a rampant thing, then I'm like, okay, now we've got power in numbers. This is a prevalent thing. I think back to the Miles Davis UHQR. I hear all these horror stories about people returning their copies because they had to return them multiple times because they just got bad pressings. I fortunately did not. Same thing. Vinyl Me Please did the Sublime reissue a couple months ago. I had 2 different collector friends of mine reach out and be like, "Hey, heads up, this is clearly a pressing defect. We've got a locked groove here." So when I got my copy, I wouldn't have probably opened it for a hot minute. I went straight to it and tested it. Fortunately, mine was fine. But like you said, like if you don't address these things right away, or if you travel or whatever, you won't catch these things. And then months later, you're stuck with the bag. So it's kind of a good thing that we have this community to really lean on to, InfoSource.
It's true. It's true. How is that Sublime album, by the way?
It's good. It sounds good. Good.
Yeah, I was really interested in getting that. I think the last couple pressings were like not that great. So I was like, thinking about taking a chance on it.
Mastered by Ryan K. Smith from 180
Virgin vinyl.
On Virgin Sangria colored vinyl.
182 gram. All right. So, all right, third one. Let's go here. Boom, boom. The vinyl. Wait, oops, that's the wrong one. Let me get my. Is it? What did I say? I don't know what I was saying. Okay, sorry. Sorry, everyone. We're so high technology here. I guess I don't have one for this. Okay. The vinyl record grading, and I probably worded this weird, but I think it's a good discussion. The vinyl record grading system is perfect. Agree or disagree?
Oh, disagree. And which one are you talking about? Therein lies the trouble. Are you talking about the Goldmine standard? Are you talking about, I always think this question is interesting, or at least this topic is interesting because let me level set. It shouldn't be subjective, but it is subjective because someone's VG plus may not be my VG plus. You know what I mean? And when really we should all align. It should be like anything else. 1 + 1 is always 2. It always has been 2. Some people think 1 + 1 is 3. Why? I don't know. Same thing applies to record grading because you hear, like, if we all agree, and I thought for a while, as a community, we agreed that, like Discogs, mint, near mint, VG plus, etc., all the way down. You hear people talking about excellent, VG plus, and could we all agree that there could be a little tweaks? Of course. Nothing is a very imperfect, subjective thing. But holy smokes, like, the Rockin' Records book, it's so obtuse. What say you?
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I think it's so subjective. And also, which, by the way, I just want to answer real quick. Most of the warps I get are dish warps. I mean, I get them both ways. I get warps that are just kind of like one edge of it is really bad. And then I do get dish warp records too. Yeah, so I've seen them both ways. But I interrupted myself and I forgot what I was going to say. Okay. So, okay. So grading. It's hard when it's open for interpretation. There are things that physically can indicate what a grade is, but there's what you really care about. I would guess most people is what something is going to sound like. What's funny, you can get a vinyl record that looks like trash and actually sounds okay. Like I've gotten like records from the 50s and stuff like that are made out of steel, and you look at it and you're like, there's no way this is going to sound good. And it sounds fine.
But conversely, you could get a brand new record that looks like it looks beautiful, and then you put it on and it crackles like popcorn. You know what I mean?
And you're trying to clean it over and over and over. It doesn't do anything. And so, there's that hidden, which makes it the worst media to try to grade. In a way, I feel for people because, if I'm a seller, I don't sell records or anything like that. But I mean, if your deal is selling records, that's incredibly frustrating, right? Where I just had a situation. I'll bring it up now. Okay. So I bought a record. I just happened to pop up one of my, in my head, I have a list in my head that I keep of records. And when I see one for a decent price, I snag it. So on Discogs, I got a record. It's right here. The classic Bill Haley and the Comets, Rock Around the Clock. And it's an original, it's a Black Decca label from the 50s. Okay. And now granted, it was a really, really fair price. And so I saw that. I was like, okay, I'm going to snag that. Listed as a VG. Great. Let's get it. Let's see what happens. Whatever. It's not that big of an investment. Let's just see what we get. And I get it. First thing I do is take it out. I would show you guys, but whatever. I don't want to make a big deal out of it. very, very scratched. And if I wasn't listening to it, first of all, if you're going to grade a record that looks like you ran over it with a car and you're not going to listen to it first, don't give it a VG. That's not a VG by any stretch of the imagination.
Good point, not to cut you off, but visual grading and play grading, right? Like
Right.
you would think that somebody would, when they call it a VG plus, they would stand by the playback is also VG plus,
Right.
as opposed to there are sellers out there that say only play graded or only visually graded. But to your point, yeah, the expectation is VG plus means both ends of the
well, and it actually said surface scratch or something like that does not affect play. That's my favorite.
Okay,
The
so
DNAP,
that would infer that he's played it, or
exactly, right? And so anyway, I play it. It skips, and I cleaned it like 3 times, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So it's fine. Everyone makes mistakes. And again, I don't want to make a big deal out of it or anything, but it was something I thought would be interesting to talk about because I think we've all probably had this scenario, right? And again, I guess I'm bringing it up because I feel for sellers. Like I know that's got to be frustrating. So I had to message and I said, even though it was not, going to break my bank still, that's $15 I could have put into a meal or something,
Right.
I'm never going to listen to this. Hey, I just want to return it. And then I got the whole like, no way I'm not paying, it was the return shipping thing or whatever. I don't want to, I feel like I'm going to get negative if I keep digressing. Cause again, like I feel for people, but I think
Join us. We float down here.
we can all relate to that, right? Like if you buy used records online, like it's just one of the most subjective things. So getting back to grading, it's like, is there even a fix for that? Like, I mean, it's such a weird thing to try to grade. Unless you're listening to every minute of every record that you're selling, you can't possibly expect to give it an accurate grade unless it's a new record or it's one you've listened to or whatever. But so anyway, it's just one of those deals. However, get your records graded and slabbed, and then a professional company can tell you exactly what those things are.
AAGS, the only ones doing it, allegedly, yes.
Oh yeah, no, there's like 3 or 4 companies now. I did a video on it.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. I think AAGS was the first to do it. I know they have some kind of like wording that makes them, industry standard.
Right. And now they've had a 30-day auction and they've been selling a lot of records. In fact, this goes back to a person had a fantastic record collection, a lot of originals, sealed records, heavy hitters, and passed away. And so the family, now in a whole different scenario, they opted not to put this stuff in Goodwill or at a garage sale. They actually had the records graded, slabbed, and put in heritage auctions to get as much as they can out of them. So it's actually one of the first like graded and slabbed auction, big auctions of vinyl records. And they're doing more. Look for part 3 coming soon. All right. Let's see. Okay, so 4, and this came up a little bit. I don't know if this is a forbidden topic or not, but mobile fidelity lawsuit. The punishment fits the crime. Agree or disagree?
Boy, I'm gonna disagree. I'm gonna take it, and here's why. I was reaching for my paperwork because I still have to fill out my paperwork.
Are you one of those people?
Oh yeah. I have, dude. I have so many. I went back, and I mean, I have the list. So here's the list. Like I'm doing my work on this one.
Wow.
I've got my receipts. Oh, here's my settlement. I mean, they've definitely made it very. There's a lot of hoops, right? Which of course,
Thanks, Rod. If you're still there, thanks for joining, man.
Sorry. Yeah, Rod. Hey. So they've made it very. You have to be very intentional. I'm gonna use that word again. To filling out your paperwork online or if you want the form. But dude, I've got so many receipts from so many purchases, and I'm not gonna send these back. Actually, I'm gonna send a couple back. Some that I know are dogs. I think it's gonna offer an opportunity to send some bad titles back.
Okay, it's very interesting. I'm glad that you are sort of into this. So it's like the idea is you would send them back and just get a refund. Is that right?
Well, they have multiple options, and I need to figure this piece out because I don't know if it's an all or nothing thing. If it's not all or nothing, there are some titles I would send back.
Okay.
Some 1-steps I don't need or have been underperformed, talking about sound quality and so forth. If they're giving me a get out of jail free card in this instance, I will do it. Other titles, I mean, I think they're going to give like some little credit back. You can get 10% off future purchase, something like that. The vast majority of what I would apply would be that because I'm I'm not gonna walk away from their business. I do think they do some good things, but all that said, for the marketing sham that they built a lot of their business off of, I mean, all they needed were a couple things. One, to be very transparent about what the silver label meant versus original master recording. And the other thing that Jim Davis and company really, pardon my French here, screwed the pooch on was they didn't have somebody from a public relations standpoint out in front of this, meeting this head on. It was just, the fact that a record store owner from Phoenix was the tip of the spear to unearthing like what people didn't really talk about too much. There were some rumblings in the community like, oh, this sounds, because like things like the Bob Dylan stuff that they've done, the Miles Davis stuff they've done, great. Some other things like the Muddy Waters One Step, not so great. All that said, they should have met this head on, and it would have been a lot more favorable. Now, you say that the punishment fit the crime. To them to give a lot of people a 10%, let's call it a coupon, because that's really what it is. I mean, they're probably even going to take their prices up, and it's probably going to offset this. So if you really take a step back, if you're getting a 10%, let's call it, you have a credit of, I'm going to make a number of $100. Hey, we're going to raise our price up 5%, or, eventually they're going to, like, it couldn't have worked out any better given the circumstances, given multiple lawsuits, in my opinion, for Mobile Fidelity than this settlement. There's no real financial punishment for deception.
Well, so I just read, and this is going a couple of months, I couldn't find anything very current, but that they negotiated a $25 million settlement, and that, the record buying public wasn't really happy with it necessarily because they weren't actually taking responsibility in a way. It was like, and that's the thing that's interesting to me. Now, I don't have a horse in this race, if I'm being honest with you. Sure. But it's kind of like, are you admitting that we did something wrong and that's why you're willing to accept the punishment or whatever? Or are you just trying to get it to go away and save your company and save some face to move on? And that's where it's coming from. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So that's what, I guess, that's a big unknown, but yeah.
But that doesn't mean that I'm like, because I know some people were personally aggrieved by the deception, and I'm not going to name names, but some folks literally walked away from the company, from their product, all that kind of stuff. And again, no judgment, but listen, at the end of the day, it's just records. Nobody came in and assaulted my family. Nobody came in and stole from me. Again, it would have just made a lot more sense to be transparent from Jump Street. But like we were talking about earlier, I think to throw digital in what's, in fairness, being sold as a premium product for an audiophile, quote unquote, there.
Exactly. And that is a great point to bring up. Yep.
That was, I think, intentional on their part of omitting that little detail. And of course, when it came out, they're like, well, of course we did this because we want to produce the sonically superior thing. Then why weren't you leading with that as opposed to, because for years, the understanding of, again, silver label meant that it wasn't 100% analog. Original master recording was understood by the collective of the community to mean 100% analog. And
so you don't think there's no case to make in terms of like it was a bad choice on the marketing team? It wasn't like they outright lied. It was more like they were just, they didn't come right out and say either way. Or do you feel like there was just straight up, it's just black and white?
Well, to me, they had an opportunity years ago when the company strategically made a choice to go down the path of choosing digital to make sonic superior. However they want, they made a choice. It could have been a cost savings choice. It could have been truly chasing to make the best sounding product. It could have been both or more. Yeah. But there was a time when somebody at the company made that decision, or a group of people made that decision, and they've been on that course ever since 2013, 2009, whenever, that's far back as this goes. At that point, that was their litmus test. That was their stress test, where they should have been out in front of it and been like, new for Mobile Fidelity, and then sell it as the way you want to sell it. Because that was your time to come clean and say, for 25 years, we've been the industry leader in making the best sounding records from analog. Yep. Now we're taking the analog tape and putting it through our trademark DSD, you know, all the stuff that they wanted to say. That's when they should have led. That should have been their hinge point to moving to the future. Yeah, there would have been some people, some diehards with the pitchforks, online, you know, keyboard warriors. I'm sure that would have existed. But the fact that they did that and then slept for another 8 years on it, when they knew, you can't fool me otherwise, that they did not know what the perception was from a market.
They had to be having discussions behind closed doors about, like, you know, this is going to piss some people off with it, you know, or what. I mean, it's like, you get it. You're in a community where people are extremely detail oriented around how you produce a record. And so, yeah. And it's like, they must have just thought that it's not, I don't know. If you know that you're doing something a little shady, you're not being 100% on the up and up, then for it to all come out the way it did, so like, I don't know what the word is, but like,
even how it came out versus how they reacted to it, they didn't react to it. Their reaction was, we're going to fly Mike Esposito out to our production thing and talk to our engineers, who are now all of a suddenly the face of this issue. I mean, again, this is going to be honestly, this is going to be taught in like public relations classes for years to come, of how not to do something, because I mean, from start to finish, this could have been handled so much better. And there's just a series of constant missteps, but yet those prices kept going up. You know, it used to be mobile fidelities were pricey, but now, you know, I mean, conveniently, they're still cashing those checks.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. So you think that the punishment wasn't harsh enough?
I think that, you know, the way it's going to net out, it really is just going to be 1 to 2 line items on their balance sheet. You know what I mean? Like, and like I said, essentially, if you think about it, yeah, people returning the product they'll have some added cost of how to process that, but they're going to put it back into the marketplace. They may even have their own, you know, like Amazon has like their dinged, you know, like warehouse fines or whatever, where it's slightly marked down. I wouldn't be surprised if Mobile Fidelity / Music Direct does something similar. I mean, I've been to the Chicago Hillside Record Show where Music Directs come, and they have a table of dinged and seam split Mobile Fidelity products. Like, so I don't know if they will find a way to cycle through the product that's coming back, but then the product where people are filling out the form for the 10% off, it's a coupon. They run promotional sales. It's really like, for all the lawsuit and all the work that the people were so angry, so passionate about, really pot them down. I mean, the hot takes. I mean, they were so mad. They had oven mitts. They had oven mitts on their hands, their feet, their mouths. They were so fit to be tie-dyed. And then in the end, all they got was a coupon, because that's really what it is. And Mobile Fidelity, Music Direct, whatever, they would run sales anyway that are probably 10% or better. Memorial Day sale, 15% off. So in the end, what they're paying out, or what they're being forced to be penalized for, is kind of laughable, because it's a coupon.
Do you think, and it's just making me think, and again, I guess I'm playing a little bit of devil's advocate or whatever. I guess I'm just trying to, again, I don't have a horse in the race, so it's easy for me to kind of look at it from both sides. But, well, for one, I think it's interesting. I bet you a lot of people outside the vinyl community, and you can say this about any community, right? I think they're probably thinking, how silly is this, right? This is a $25 million settlement, you know, and all this stuff, because what? You know, you don't even get it, you know? Yeah. But anyway, I forgot what else I was going to say about it, but, and to your point, like, is everyone, probably a lot of people aren't, you know, gonna do, and there's a lot of people that probably aren't even aware this thing is happening, right? Of
course, it's a very, very niche thing. I mean, Lucky 13 in the gallery makes a good point. Most people aren't even doing the refund work, and that's true, because it's an obstacle course. You know, you've got to get your good luck. Fortunately, I made a lot of these purchases direct, or I have at least online receipts. But if you didn't, if I went to my local and bought, because I bought some of these from local shops, or I bought them from when I was traveling, like we were talking about earlier. I don't have those receipts from years ago, and it's only select titles. So it's literally like Alan in The Hangover. You know, got to make sure you line up this with this, and for, you know, okay, a couple $100 maybe for me and credit. Yeah, I'll use that. Now I was a customer. I'm still a customer. I don't like how they handled it and how there was that degree of deception, but it didn't injure me.
Actually, I know what I was going to say before I forget again is what happens if Mobile Fidelity went away because of this? I mean, what if it was just such a financial burden for them that they just had to declare bankruptcy and went away? I mean, is that like you said, dying on a sword, right? And so like as a customer, how is your feeling then, I guess? Does it matter? Like, hey, they have to pay the price, we need our refunds, et cetera, et cetera. They did wrong and all this stuff. And then they go away is a little bit of like, seeing the forest for the trees or something like that. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like,
yeah, I'm with you, but I'll say I don't stress about that. Obviously I don't want anyone to lose their jobs or companies to go under, but if it wasn't Mobile Fidelity, another company will buy them out of bankruptcy. They'll buy their proprietary processes. They'll hire their employees and they'll rebrand it, or they'll keep. It's like anything else in corporate America. Is that if a company falters, there's another company willing to pick up the pieces. And
right.
Like you think about not to a similar parallel. Hostess Bread, right? Hostess Bread went out of business. There's so many other bread companies. Well, company went in. Another like big conglomerate and bought the name.
Thank God we only had to live without Twinkies for like 2 months.
Well, exactly. But same point. If this would have forced Mobile Fidelity, and I doubt it will, but in that scenario, if it forced them to close, unfortunate on a personal level to some of those folks who work for the company, but somebody else, Acoustic Sounds, Vinyl Me Please, somebody would have bought. I mean, their work and what they do wouldn't have stopped. It would have been it would have been very interesting to see who those players were. Like I think back from like my background when Sports Authority went out of business. Like there were people like kicking around the scraps, right? And they didn't want to pick up those leases of the closed stores. They wanted that Sports Authority name, and they wanted certain pieces, the buzzards picking at the flesh of the roadkill. Same thing would have happened. So I don't think that would have set the hobby back at all, because there's so many other people in that space now, be it Chad at Acoustic Sounds or Sam Records, or I mean there even the ERC stuff, which is crazy expensive. There's so many other folks who could have expanded and picked that up and put it under their umbrella. But again, I want to be very clear. I'm not like punish Mobile Fidelity.
Right.
I just think what their penalty was for all the consternation that a lot of people made about it. It's a glorified coupon. It's like it was just a whole lot of nothing. It was a big nothing burger, if you ask me.
I think you have a very clear-headed, reasonable, response to this and thought process around it. And if anything, I think just talking about it, even if I sound like I'm being devil's advocate, it's just I think it's good to just kind of think this all the way through it is such a big, I mean, when has there been something like this in the vinyl community? It's just such a massive thing. All right. So that's pretty much all I got for topics. Let's see. I do have a giveaway. I do need to give away this Meon. Let's give away this Meon promo code. It's about $50 in US dollars. It's actually 7,000 yen. It works out to like $48.84 or something right now.
What's up?
So, but that's cool. That's going to get you a record or two and some shipping. So I've been sitting here pondering how in the heck to do this though. So I have this little randomizer, but I don't know if it works for live streams. Let's find out. Let me do this real quick. Do you want to, do you mind if I just give you the floor for a minute and just, you can, again, I don't know who it was here at the beginning of this. Chance has he's working with a company, record sleeves, inner sleeves and outer sleeves that he has a promo code for to save you guys 10%. So would you mind chatting about that for a minute?
Oh, sure. Hang on, actually, I can pull one of those fine products out. Hang on.
Awesome.
Oh.
I just gotta find that.
Yeah. So no, the good folks at Vinyl Storage Solutions have been kind enough to partner to offer anyone that sees my goofy face on live streams, my own presentations, vinyl community podcasts. I'm a lot of different places for whatever reason, but as somebody who has enjoyed their product for over 18 months, it first started for me when I saw Mike, who is the founder of the company. He was on Frank Landry, channel 33 RPM, talking about this product, piqued my interest. I've bought some things from him that weren't exactly my cup of tea. But the one thing that is my favorite by far is not this Journey record, but these dual pocket sleeves that not only, I mean, crystal clear. Really,
don't say nothing bad about Journey.
No. I just bought this record from Permanent Records on Instagram, but Hype Sticker. This is another part of the sickness. Oh, Hype Sticker, gotta have.
Oh, I love it.
But no, I mean, this is never obviously makes the artwork pop nice and crystal clear, nice tough corners. So if I'm a big dingbat and I drop my record, it's not gonna ding my sleeve, and then you can easily pull the record out of the back. So anyway, it's a long-winded way of saying that's my go-to for my outer sleeves. And they have been kind enough, anywhere I am, if you use the code VCP, Vinyl Community Podcast 10, VCP 10, or just Concert Buddy, BUDDIE, because I'm cute like that. You can save 10% anytime, any number of times. If you're in between, like I was saying earlier, I usually load up when they have their promotional periods and just buy a ton. And that way that'll last me for several months. That's just me. But sometimes I'm in a desert and I need to pick up some because I'm processing and I'm really trying to get my collection really organized. And this 10% off code is great because not only do you get 10% off, but if you spend over 50 US, I think you get free shipping. So if you really are smart with what you're buying, it's a win-win. So I'm really appreciative of them offering this opportunity for me to share these codes, and hopefully you guys can get some values from it.
Well, I think too is that, like you and I talked about it, and one of the things I really love about your relationship with them is like, is really trying to partner up with people that you use and believe in, right? And it sounds cliche, right? Like you hear the same thing from everyone, like, yeah, I really, but it's so true, man. When you're a fan and you use something, you and I have both had people approach us about things, and it's like, I'm not going to promote something that I'm not actively 100%. Using and that I put my name on and stuff like that, such as it is. I'm not saying I'm a celebrity, but it's like still you want to make sure that your community and the audience, when they're using something that you're promoting, that is something you believe in. And I think we've already gotten a lot of responses. I mean, they are awesome sleeves. So
yeah, and what's really really awesome about it is I reached out to him to talk to him for the podcast, right? That's how this whole thing started. And I talked to I learned that Mike was kind of taking a step back and he's just doing product development. So I talked to a guy named Jeremy Ediger, and we had a great conversation for the podcast. And they're always, one thing that's really cool is they're always like kind of pushing the boundaries of what their product assortment is. They're making sleeves for UHQRs now, for box sets. I mean, they're really cool. They're not just resting on it's not like the MoFi sleeves. Like MoFi was just making the MoFi sleeves, and that's all they are doing. Like this company is literally, I mean, the poly rice paper sleeves, you can get those anywhere. Obviously Vinyl Storage Solutions can sell them too, but when this proprietary stuff about these outer sleeves, best in class. And like I said, there's a ton of people, you're already seeing it in the comments here, that use the product. But anyway, I just talked to them for the podcast, and then they said, hey, that really went great. If you'd be interested in this opportunity to save your listeners, and I even asked, I'm like, because originally they gave me a code and it was for first time customers, which I was, appreciative of and happy to pass that along. But then they, reached out and be like, hey, if you want to use these codes, no deadline, no restriction, you can order and use it every time, feel free. And that was important to me because I didn't want to, because there's people who are already customers who will probably buy more sleeves.
They're stocked up.
They stock up. I mean, that's what I do. And It's funny, my last stock up, I'm already starting to run dry. So I might have to use this code myself, to be honest with you.
That's awesome. All right. So I think we can do this. I think we can do this giveaway. But what I want to give everybody an opportunity to do is leave some kind of comment. If you've already left a comment, you are golden. You have nothing to worry about. If you haven't left a comment and you could use $50, roughly USD, to go on to Mion.Tokyo. And I'm sorry, Chance, but you're not eligible. Although your name is in there, man. Might have to redraw.
It's all good. It's all good.
So drop a comment if you haven't already. This is for a chance to enter you in a drawing to take, what we'll end up doing is, if your name gets drawn, hit me up on Instagram. It's spins.vinyl. Drop me a message there. We'll make sure that, I'm talking to the right person and I'm not giving your promo to someone else. And then I will shoot you over a very special promo code, which is going to get you roughly $50 US. And it can be anywhere. That's the great thing about this, is that you don't have to be in the US to use it. You can be anywhere. So yeah, I'm going to give you guys a couple minutes to jump in, leave a comment for that so you can enter into the drawing. While you're doing that, I do need to come clean on something. Not necessarily, not come clean, but there is something, that I do want to talk about. It has to do with the 1,000 subscriber album giveaway that I just had, where I gave away 2 records, John Coltrane, Blue Train, and I gave away Grateful Dead Without a Net. 2 fantastic albums. I was so excited since my first upload. I've been talking about this as a fantastic milestone and a way to give back to you guys. And I was getting a lot of side advice like, don't make it international. Don't try to do that. Make it United States.
Rookie mistake.
It was a rookie mistake because I'm like, no. I want to make sure everyone's eligible. I don't want to exclude anyone. Well, it came back and bit me. The customs thing got me. It was a nightmare and stuff. And in fact, both winners were both out of the States. I think Germany. First of all, thank you so much for understanding, guys. They are going to get something else. I'm going to take care of them still. And everyone's happy, everyone wins, but it was just one of those deals. And they even sent me an email in advance when they reached out to me, like, are you sure about this? I mean, cause they know the deal. Right. And so I'm like, no. Well, so anyway, went to the post office. It was not my funnest, time there and stuff. And so it just didn't work out. They're taken care of. Everyone's happy. What that means for you is that those records are still available. And so we're going to do another drawing. However, make sure you live within media mail range of the United States.
Continental USA, CUSA.
Thank you.
I've been down this path, my friend.
You nailed it. Continental US. Make sure your address is Continental US. I'm going to make another video. I was hoping to actually have a video up when that went live. I didn't. I will get one up very soon. Watch for it. Subscribe, hit the bell, whatever you got to do, because these are killer records and they're back out. Someone's going to win these things still. So
Chris Dash is very interested. He said, does that mean the Dead is still available? I think it does.
Absolutely. The Dead is still available. So
the Dead is undead. Oh, do you see what I did there? Yeah. What's up?
We brought it back. We resurrected it.
Yeah.
I would show them to you now, but they're actually literally in packing boxes because I got as far as, putting a label.
They're so close to being sent out that
they're so close. So, but this isn't for that. So just so you know, you're putting your name in, you're dropping a comment now to get the $50 promo code from Meon Records, my favorite. And I know it sounds cliche, but honestly, and I talked to them a couple different times, and they're so, like, same thing with Chance, like they're so generous to work with me and to, and I'm like, man, you're a Japanese, record store? Like, they're like, yeah, most of our business is done out of the United States. And the great thing about Japan and the relationship with the United States and customs is that there's not all those hiccups that you get with a lot of other countries. Literally, my records are on my porch like 3 or 4 days after I buy them. They're that good. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's an opportunity for someone, to snag something, maybe, dip their toes in the water on a Japanese record store. And again, you don't have to live in the US for this one. So wherever you're from, and I see some other comments come through, I'm gonna let it go for a couple more minutes. I want to make sure everyone gets in there.
Yeah, of course.
I think we're going to be able to do this. You won't be able to see it. It's my first stream. I'm so sorry. I want to be able to see it, but I swear to God, we're going to get this to the right person. It's all random. All right. And then again, be looking for that video that's coming out very soon, so that you can have another chance, a second chance at the Coltrane, Blue Train, and Grateful Dead Without a Net. Again, this is for 7,000 yen. And if you guys can't do it in your head, in the US, that amounts to about $48.84.
Hang on, I got my Palm Pilot out, Jason. What was
Get
that?
the Palm Pilot.
7,000.
7,000 yen.
Got it.
Let's see. Let's make sure I got everything else. Yeah, this is the last thing, man. This has been a fantastic stream, guys, man. I really appreciate everyone showing up today. Chance, you killed it today. Thank you so much for joining me on the inaugural. Hopefully we can do this again soon.
You only get one first time. Just remember that.
When you say include Canada, this one includes Canada. This is for the promo code to Meon Records, which is going to get you roughly $50 US. Wherever you are.
Afghanistan, wherever you are. Let's go.
Just keep in mind that shipping is part of that $50. So whatever US, so whatever, if you get a $30 record, if it costs $20 to ship it, then you're even. But you can use it towards something. Use this $50 towards something bigger that you want, But for the Dead and the Coltrane, no, it's just continental U.S. Sorry about that. Do we have to re-enter? Unfortunately, yeah. There's no way for me to know to kind of cherry pick who's in the U.S. and who's not. So I'm gonna give people another week. I'm gonna get this. I'm making a commitment to you guys. I'm gonna get it out this weekend. So just check my channel. I'll be very
Are you
explicit
making
about
like
it.
like a refresh video so people can then enter from that video? Is that
Exactly right. Thank you. This is going to be a refresh video. You'll have to re-enter, and that's why I can't. If I just went through and did another re-roll, I just might have the same problem. So yes,
100%,
unfortunately, you have to resubmit. You know which record you want. I'll do the video this weekend. I'll put it on all my socials. You know everything I possibly can, so you guys can get in it. And I'll give you a week, and then we'll draw again. So good luck. Yes, fingers crossed. Especially if you want that Dead, man. That is a killer. And part of the reason why I didn't want to stick that thing in the mail and just send it off to Germany was the customs process. There's no tracking. You don't know how long it's going to take or if it's ever going to get there. I'm just like, I wasn't willing to take the risk on that record.
Don't blame me.
Thanks so much.
I'm just deleting my negative comments I had on your video about, I can't believe that you're not giving this to the German guy.
Oh, that's okay. I can just delete them.
Oh, hey, Jason Arsenal is a little cocky there. He won my the last contest I had, and my man's in Canada, so I was feeling that one. So thanks, buddy. Yeah. So
I thought you learned your lesson.
Well, no, because we were having a listening party for the new Nick Perry album, and you know, winning is winning. And Jason is a good guy. He's a friend of the channel. We talk regularly on Instagram and whatnot. And he's always been such a great supporter that I was like, you know what? And he even said when he won, he's like, yeah, I'm in Canada, remember? And I'm like, I do remember, Jason. But you know what?
Now Jason's got good taste because he's been slipping into my DMs also. So no, man,
I two-timing me.
Yeah,
wow. I thought our bond was sacred, Jason. Wow.
I mean, I'm not trying to rat anyone out, but
to everybody in the vinyl community. Okay. The doorknob of the vinyl community. Everybody gets a turn. I see how
no.
Got him.
Nah, he's got great taste, man.
He does. He's a good dude.
All right, let's do this. If everyone's ready, let's do it. I think I'm given enough time. I hope this works now that I've hyped it all up. Let me just grab this. Get in quick if you haven't yet. Have I been off screen this whole time? Okay, I'm looking at something weird then.
No.
I still need to learn the ropes, guys. That's why Chance is here. He's here to like hold my hand so we can get through this. Can you guys hear that? Oh, no, I'm hearing double. Okay. Wow. See, I told you I'm such a rookie. All right, here we go. Boom. Anything goes. Okay. No duplicates. Drum roll. Here we go. I'm rolling. Here we go. Everyone who's left a comment so far is fair game. You guys have a chance to win this. That's what I was afraid of. Unknown error.
Congratulations, unknown error. You have won.
Chance, okay, so you're the veteran, man. Do you have any ideas? How do we get this done?
Oh, the only time I've done like the internet randomizer, like there's like a wheel, there's like a website.
Yo, could you do it on a live stream though?
If you do a share screen, so if you go to like if you just Google any kind of randomizer,
yeah, I'm on a randomizer.
And it'll pull I forget the one I use, but I mean I think they're pretty common. Go to that site; it'll let you load in the names, and then if you want to just share your screen on this, and I think then people can see like it's on the up and up and.
Oh, I got to load in the names and everything. Okay.
Yeah. But it should be. I mean, if you have them right there, it should be not too quick or kind of quick. It's kind of like a Wheel of Fortune wheel. Yeah, I forget which one I use, but I think they're pretty common out there.
Yeah, there's one that I use for my 1,000 subscriber giveaway where you literally enter the YouTube URL
Oh,
and
for
then
real?
it grabs the comments out of it, and it's like brainless.
Man,
It's so good, but it's not working for the
Skynet is just on it, man. They figured out all this stuff.
yeah, it's kind of yep. I feel like I'm already having a hard enough time chewing gum and patting my head at the same time. I
Oh,
don't
you're
know how
good. Hey,
I'm gonna pull this
Lucky
off.
13, he's asking if second place gets a wrestling record from me. That's a negative because I hold on to my wrestling records. I'm still very butthurt about the Macho Man record store day debacle, where I was out waiting for this record for 11 hours, and I got my copy. I was number one in my record store, and I got the record I was waiting for. And then 3 months later, this exclusive is repressed by those geniuses at Record Store Day. So that's a very triggering situation, Lucky 13. But next time, maybe I'll get you a Hulk Hogan country record or something.
So that's very interesting. I didn't know. I mean, what you're talking about. There's a Hulk Hogan country record.
Oh no! I don't even. I mean, listen, Terry Bollea used to play bass in Florida, but I don't. Yeah, no. Don't blame me. You're right, Lucky. You're lucky. You're right. I don't blame you. Shoot or shoot, bud.
How do I just grab all the names, Chance?
Oh, I hate to say, you may have to just typey.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing. I just don't want to leave someone out. Here we go. All right. Well, if you don't mind just rapping while I do this,
Yeah.
Or I should put on some Jeopardy music or something.
Oh no, Well, no, I was gonna help you. So, I mean, are you counting anyone who's been in the stream, or people who are just on it right now?
Yeah, it'd be nice if it was just people that are on that have been sticking around, and while I'm sitting here, trying to figure this out.
No, I'm with you. So here's a good one. Is there anybody listening that has actually sampled our Vinyl Community Podcast project? I'd be very curious. And if so, what do you think? And honestly, be honest. I would love if you like what you hear. I would love if you went to leave us a review somewhere, because that helps propel our stuff. But honestly, if anyone's heard any of our stuff, I'd love to hear that feedback, because I do take it seriously, and I don't take offense to any kind of criticisms or constructive criticism. So has anybody out there in the gallery sampled Vinyl Community Podcasts? Marcia. Yeah. I knew I could count on Marcia. But that doesn't mean if you like it or not. You've listened on Spot. Doesn't mean if you like it or not. Let's see. Oh, a podcast link. Oh, Jason Arsenal, of course. That is his go-to. He's training for a new Kumite. That's correct. But let me. I'll get you that link. Hold, please. If I can post links here. Boom, 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 boom. Apple. Let's get this link, and let's get this to you. Hopefully, let's see if it'll let me post. So I just posted that link. Hopefully you can click through. If you use Apple, we're on Apple, we're on Spotify, we're on Google Podcasts, anywhere you can use, enjoy, or have tried podcasts. iHeartRadio, Samsung smart TVs. You can listen to this. I don't know why you would, but if that's your jam, knock yourself out. But like we said, the passion project that I just did to kind of feed the need for somebody who likes listening to record talk and podcasts. And I'm unfortunately been partnered up with some great folks in the community who also enjoy the idea and sharing their content, and very diverse topics and folks in the community that we have on, and interviews and reviews and news. And that was unintentional, all that rhyming, but it's just how it worked out. But,
it's a fantastic idea, man. And I think, I was telling you, like, I want to, get my podcast rolling too. So we'll see. I mean,
sure,
who knows?
sure.
You guys might see me out there.
Yeah.
All right. So I have names. Here we go. Only problem I don't have with this technology I have, I'm not able to show this. I'm so sorry, but just take my word for it.
Well, hang on. Like, what if I may fall off because I have that share screen. What if I? Well, no, because I wouldn't be able to because this is on your. You've built it on yours.
Yeah.
Because if you share
Well,
a screen from our little portal here, would that do anything?
let me see. Let me try this.
We may break the stream.
I know we may break things. Let's see. Yeah, see, I'm not using the same software you use. I'm using Streamlabs, and I'm just not hip to this. All the things I tried to get right today, that was the one thing that I'm.
Experience is the greatest teacher. It's true.
Yeah. Let's just do this. Is everyone okay with that? The only other option is that like I end the stream and then we do it at a later date when this isn't like live, and it just becomes a YouTube video. But I'm tired of making you guys wait.
Yeah. Rip it.
Let's rip it. Shuffle, boom. I'm using that little Wheel of Fortune you're talking about.
Like Hulk Hogan and No Holds Barred. Rip them.
Click to spin or press enter. I'm going to click. Here we go. Everyone hold your breath. Do, 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 do. And the winner is Harry Nilsson.
Yay.
Harry, you just won yourself a $48.84 promo code for Meon Records. So hit me up on Insta, Harry, and spins.vinyl, and we'll go from there. So congratulations. And if you didn't win, don't be sad. We're going to get you something. You can still save 10%. The promo code is right there on the screen. So I said that wrong. It's Meon.Tokyo. You can always save 10% using the Spins, the SPINZ promo code. But congratulations, Harry. We're going to get you like around $50 US for your next vinyl purchase. So congratulations.
Way to go.
All right, my brother. You got anything else?
That's all she wrote.
This was super fun.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. Appreciate you.
Yeah, I appreciate you, and I appreciate everyone that joined us tonight. I hope you guys had fun. It's only going to get better. This was the inaugural stream. You can say you were there when it all went down for the very first time. So thanks so much, everyone. Thank you so much. Thanks, Chance. And I will see you guys next time.
Boom.